Good day everyone. So today we are going to discuss about discourse studies in the classroom. What is classroom discourse? Classroom discourse is the conversation that took place inside the classroom. It could be the conversation between the student to teacher or the teacher to student, which means that learning happens through classroom discourses. A lot of researchers wanted to figure out the underlying pattern of classroom discourses. That's why in 1910, the first systematic study of classroom discourse was reported. During this time, the researchers uses stenographers to record the talk between the teacher and the student inside the classroom. And then in 1930, the first use of audio tape recorders was reported. From the use of stenographers, the researchers in 1930 uses audio tape recorders to record the conversation between the student and the teacher inside the classroom to figure out what is really the underlying structure or pattern of a classroom discourse. And then in 1960, the growth in the number of studies based on analysis of transcript of classroom discourses increased. So a lot of researchers, um, the number of researchers who wanted to figure out the underlying pattern of classroom discourses increased, so they really wanted to figure out and to know the pattern of a classroom discourses on how these patterns affect the the learning process. And then in 1973, Baruch Rosenshine and Norma First described 76 different published systems for analyzing classroom discourses. So in 1973, there are already 76 different published systems on how to analyze the the pattern of the on how to analyze the study by the researchers on what is the underlying pattern of a classroom discourse. So now I am going to show you an excerpt which will show us what is the underlying pattern of a classroom discourse. So this is it. Okay, so as what you can see in this excerpt, the teacher is asking a question. What's transparent? Something is transparent. What does that mean? We did that this morning, didn't we? What does transparent mean? So after the teacher throw that question to the class, a student answered, which is Valerie. And then after Valerie answered, the teacher asked a question again. So after the teacher throw the question once again, the student answered. Well, it goes through like you can like shine a torch on and you can see. After the student answered, voice out her answered, the teacher asked again, what goes through? Then Valerie, which is the student, answered once again, the light. Okay, so the teacher um ex- uh, el- the teacher elaborated what Valerie answered. The light can pass through something if it's transparent. What's the next one? After he elaborated Valerie's answer, he threw another question. What's the next one? Translucent. What does it mean, Jordan? And throw it to the class. After throwing another question, another another student answered, which is Jordan. Just some light can get through. Jordan answered. And then the teacher said this. Absolutely. Some light can get through. Can you look around the room and see an example of something that might be translucent? Well, you all can tell me something in here that's translucent because you discovered something in the morning that would let some light through. What was it? Okay, so another student answered paper, and then the teacher explained what the student answered on why the paper is translucent. And then the the teacher asked for more example, and then another from the class answered, which is Morgan. And then again, he the teacher asked for more examples, and then and revised her questions by giving examples and asking his students to identify whether it is transparent or translucent. Okay, so now, um, from the excerpt that I've shown you earlier, what do you think is the structure of a classroom discourse? So that excerpt shows the hidden pattern or the hidden structure of the classroom discourse. What do you think it is? Okay, so the structure of a classroom discourse is that first, a teacher will ask a question. So, as what you can see at the very first of the excerpt, the teacher asks a question. And then next that will happen is that one or two student will answer. So as what you can see, a student answered on the teacher's question, and then after the student will answer the after the student will answer will answer the teacher's question, he will add something on what his student answered, and then elaborate it further or deeper, and then ask another question again. And then the cycle continues. She will ask a question, her students will answer, she will comment on her students answer, and then throw another question. So that is how a classroom how that is how the pattern of a classroom discourse happens. Okay, so Brasha Alpert have identified three different three different types of student. The first one is the silent. The teacher talks almost all the time. So the teacher do all the talking, she will do all the discussions, the explanations, and her students will just listen to what she is going to say or to share to the class. Another one is the controlled. No one will answer if not asked. One great example of a controlled one or a controlled student is the excerpt that I've shown you earlier. Have you noticed, if the teacher will not ask a question, the student will not answer? So you have, in a controlled classroom or controlled student, you have to throw questions, you have to to do something for the students to cooperate, or for the students to be involved or to be engaged in an activity or in a discussion. Another one is the active. Students talk primarily to each other, so they share ideas between each other, with their classmates, with and it is the opposite of the silent silent. Okay, so now let us proceed to another example of so this is an excerpt, the same with what I've shown you earlier, but different scenario. What kind of classroom discourses could this excerpt be referring to? So in this classroom, the students are grouped for an activity, which is to list down the possible jobs that the people might do down in Antarctica. And then the first group is composed of boys, which is led by Ben. And then the second group is pure girls, they're all girls, which is led by Tilly. So um as you can see, Ben said most of the people there are scientists. In fact, just about all of them are. Then his groupmate Jim said even the cooks would be scientists. Ben said not necessarily. Okay. Jim said some of them. Ben, pilots. Yeah, they need pilots. All the things that need to be done to keep to keep you living. You know, you need to have food, you need to have shelter. I know a driver, but you could have a scientist to be a driver. What else would they do? What are they called? I don't know. Maintenance man. Maintenance man. As what you observe, Jim is trying to voice out her answer, her opinion about those possible jobs that people might do in Antarctica, and waited for Ben to correct him if he is right or wrong, which means that in this type of classroom, peers, I mean, the student are more likely to be influenced by their peers. Okay, so maintenance man, Jim said, and then Tilly overheard their conversation and corrected them by saying that thank you, maintenance person. So what do you think it is? And then Jim said, or lady, maintenance person, more likely implying that Tilly is right, that what they should write is maintenance person, because a maintenance is a job not only intended for man but also for women. Okay, so that's it. And then, as what you can observe further in this excerpt, Ben said that Tilly's group should not copy their answers, and that they should create their own. They should think of their own answers and not listen to what they to what they answered. Okay, so let us move further. Okay, so just like what I said, researchers have noted that students are more likely to have their thinking changed by their peers than by their teachers. Students tend to believe what their peers or their classmates told them to do rather than by believing on what the teacher said. Why do you think so? Okay, so in this classroom, there was an underlying competitiveness and gender bias. So there is an so this is another structure of a classroom discourses wherein competitiveness and gender bias is present. As what you can see, the group of Ben and the group of Tilly, there is an what do you call this one? A competitiveness in between them. You've observed that, right? And the gender bias there is when the group of Ben said that uh, maintenance man instead of saying maintenance person. We shouldn't. We should be aware on. Okay, so that is the end of my report, and the next topic will be discussed by Miss Rufa Rosano. Thank you and God bless.